Hey guys, this is AwesomeJohn22 coming today with another review, and today we are looking at a very long-awaited figure. We are taking a look at Generations Deluxe Class Arcee, who, unlike most of the current Generations line, is not heavily influenced by her comic book counterpart, because this is meant to be Generation 1 Arcee, the figure that we never received. Yes, there were some figures of Generation 1 Arcee, but none of them transformed. And a lot of fans, myself included, always considered that to be a disservice to the character. So while we have gotten figures which resembled Arcee, other figures of characters named Arcee, this is the first time we have gotten a genuine Generation 1 Arcee which transforms. And while this version is not perfect, this is the regular Hasbro release version, rather than one of the subsequent releases, such as the Closed Hands version, which I believe is a Japanese release, but I'm not 100% sure. This figure is still perfectly adequate, and I certainly love it a lot. So that's what I'm going to talk about here today. But first, let's get her transformed up through the magic of jump cuts. And here we have Arcee in her vehicle mode, and as you can see, she's a pretty spiffy little sports car, very reminiscent of her appearance in the old cartoon with these little wheels and the sleek design, and even if we zoom in, a really cool dashboard molded in, complete with a steering wheel and all kinds of different indicators. A clear plastic windshield. We've got this cool space-agey spoke or pokey thing here, like you might expect to see on a design from the era. It's very 1980s, very sleek, very compact, and I like it a lot. It also has weapon storage. You can bring her swords in and plug them into these ports on the side, like so. And then bring her guns in and plug them into these ports on the back. And it doesn't really look out of place. It looks like something you might see on a spaceship, and she looks kind of spaceshipy, so it kind of looks like this space-age car thing with weapons on it, and I like it a lot. Very cool, very good size, very slight and small, like you would expect of Arcee. Here she is next to another modern deluxe class car, so you can kind of get a feel for the size. You can see she's about the same length, but she's a lot narrower and a lot shorter as well. She's very, very cool. The pink is very vibrant. She's got this very nice topographed Autobot symbol. A few scratches in the black paint. That bums me a little bit, but that's not something I've seen on more than just mine. It's just a quality control problem. You can see this black stripe runs all the way through the back. Everything's broken up by this white. We've got this really cool metallic blue on the front here, which kind of matches the clear blue on her weapons and windshield, and I like that a lot too. Just three basic colors, pink, white, and black, but it all comes together to work really well. I want to point out this gun real quick, because I'll probably forget to do it later. This gun is pink plastic. Every color on there is painted, and I just want to point out how nice the paint looks to give us this really distinct, unique looking gun. They could have left that unpainted. They didn't have to paint that, and they did, and it looks amazing. The same for this other gun. I believe this is actually black plastic, but you have this little bit of gray paint here that didn't have to be there, and I really appreciate that it is. Let's go ahead and look at her other weapons while we're taking the time to do it. She has these blades as well, which, while a bit impractical in design for blades, certainly convey what they're supposed to be, and yet they can also be, you could also think that they might be guns, because they have these little emitters down here, so that you could use them as both. If you can get her to hold it as a gun, you could use it as a gun. I like that a lot too. That detail didn't have to be there. This could have been a lot simpler than it is, but they did such a good job with it. And that's really what I think the gist of this figure is. It's so much better than it could have been, and it's it ends up being exactly what we've been needing for almost 30 years now. And I just love it so much. It's such a great figure. And there are still better versions of this figure out there. Guys, there are better versions of this figure out there than just this one. And that's the best part, is this figure is already great, and there are better versions out there. So let's go ahead and get this thing transformed so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. What we're going to do first is we're going to come down here. We're just going to pull these feet loose, which kind of loosens everything up back here. Next, we're going to take this section here and lift it up. It kind of pegs in to these thigh bits. Next, we're going to rotate her legs around and bring the camera up and straighten her legs. You can see there's this kind of hinge in here. We want to straighten it out like so, and then bring her feet down. And next we're going to come here, bring her arms down like so. And how do I want to do this? Let's go back here first. Take this section, fold it up underneath like so. And that just kind of leaves the entire top section to get done. We're going to take this, fold it up, then just kind of work this section here out loose from this. It's kind of pegged in, but it's not difficult to get where you want it to be. Next we're going to come back to the back here, separate that so that we can accordion it down, which you can kind of see this whole section is separate. We have these gaps here. We want these gaps to go in above her shoulders so that it all comes together like so. And then this whole section pegs into the front via this section here. And then her head kind of pegs in right there like that. And there you have it. Arcee is done. And the biggest complaint I have heard against this figure is that she's a bit of a shell former. But, I mean, look at this versus her vehicle mode and tell me that she's not going to be a bit of a shell former. It's inevitable. And she looks so spot on, her G1 interpretation. It's just phenomenal. We've got these nifty 80s R2-D2-esque patternings and details across her torso and legs. Little bits of blue breaking up the white here. Same vibrant pink. No Autobot symbols visible in this mode, which is kind of a bummer. But you can see just in my ambient light how fantastic her light piping is. That's just amazing. And she, of course, does have the helmet that kind of resembles the Princess Leia hair. Because, as we all know, the era of Transformers in which she was introduced was very heavily influenced by Star Wars. She can hold her weapons, of course, though there is a closed-hand version of her that holds them a bit more securely. These still work perfectly fine. They still slot in and they aren't going to come out unless you want them to. What I like to do, though, is to either take her guns and plug them in up here and give her shoulder cannons, or to give her a little bit more ability to aim them, take them, and there are also these slots on her arms. Peg them into her arms. And we can do that with both guns, because as you can see they have these tabs on the sides. Get a better grip on it. Now she can kind of aim with these wrist gun things and still carry her swords. And I really like it. Her swords can also, I believe, it's my first time trying this, yeah, her swords can also plug into her shoulders. So that's, I guess that's where their gun function comes in. But I kind of like this. Get her standing with her guns and her swords all ready to kind of mess you up. And I really like it a lot. Very, very nifty. Very, very cool that on a figure this small, this slight, this frail looking, she not only holds up so well. I mean, look at that. She's standing so well. I mean, on just those tiny little feet. But you also have so many options for her to carry all of her weapons, and I just think that's a really cool feat of designing. For a size comparison, here is Arcee next to a couple of other recent figures. We have RID 2015 Bumblebee, as well as a semi-recent Voyager class figure. You can see she's about the same height as RID Bumblebee, who is on the shorter side of Deluxes. The Deluxes in the RID line seem to be a bit short. And you can see here, but you can see a Voyager class figure just towers over her. She's very small, as I've mentioned a few times. And here you can kind of see what I mean. In terms of articulation, the figure is pretty phenomenal. Let's get her swords out of the way. You can see a full ball-jointed head that can look all over the place, like literally everywhere. Ball-jointed shoulders, which are a bit hampered by her backpack, but not too bad. Rotation at the upper arm, and a light ratchet in the elbows. No waist articulation, but she does have hip movement, even if it is a bit limited and it is a bit dependent on this second transformation joint. Full forward and back movement. I think her knee's actually double jointed, which is really nice. Rotation above the knee, which is the best place for it. And some foot articulation. So all in all, about what you would expect, but because her body is so humanoid and so unhampered by her large backpack, it ends up being really viable articulation, and because she is such a stable figure, she can hold a lot of really great poses. And I think that's really, really nice, especially for a figure that has swords. You need some cool poses for a figure with swords. It's kind of a given that you're going to be posing this figure in some cool fight stances. All in all, I would say that I have been waiting for this figure since I was a child, and I am not disappointed. While it is not a perfect figure, while there are definitely things that it could do better, I am more than satisfied with what we have here. And maybe you aren't. Maybe you really want to spring for something that's a little closer to what you would consider the perfect Arcee, and that's fine. There are other versions of this figure coming out. Now that this mold is out there, expect repaints of this thing all over the place, especially coming from Japanese releases. Arcee is an incredibly popular character, being the quintessential female G1 Transformer. Don't expect this mold to go anywhere anytime soon. Whether it be the version with the open hands or the closed hands, both of them are fantastic, and I could not recommend any version of this figure enough. 30 years late, and yet I am still happy to see it here. This figure is just absolutely amazing, and it's something that every Generation 1 fan should have in their collection. But guys, that really does it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, because I certainly enjoyed making it despite my terrible, terrible cold. Please help me out, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you feel so inclined. In the description down below, you'll find links to all the other things I'm working on, as well as a link to my collections video. Check it out, and if you see anything in that video that you would like me to review, let me know and I'll see what I can do. This has been Awesome John 22, and I will talk to you guys later.